It is the wildest form of motor racing in the world, using roads normally reserved for the public domain. Vincenzo Florio started it all in 1929 on the streets of Sicily and involved legends like Sterling Moss and Juan Manuel Fangio. It was revived down under in the Apple Isle, Tasmania, and then the land of the long white cloud. 15 years on, and the ultimate road race is part of motorsport history. Welcome to Dunlop Targa New Zealand for 2009. Names like Robbie Francevic, Peter Brock, Steve Millen and Chris Amon have long been associated with the Targa in New Zealand. And in the celebratory year, it continues. NZ V8 drivers Clark Proctor and Paul Manuel return to a discipline of motorsport that is as different as it is challenging.
Yeah, probably a discipline I'm still struggling to get my head around, to be honest, but definitely a healthy respect for it. It's completely different, and it's it's 6 days behind the wheel solid, so yeah, there's a lot of variables.
And along with the V8 boys is Pirelli star driver winner Hayden Paddon in his first attempt at the blacktop.
Our main priority this week's getting some experience on tarmac, but if we are in close battles, I'm sure the competitive edge of me will take over, and that's when, if you are close, that's when you do start, just holding that accelerator a little bit longer until you back off, and so especially in the fast corners, when you hesitate in the fast corners and lose all the momentum, that's what really kills the speed. So I guess it's just going to be a matter of trying to keep up the momentum.
Hosted by the city of Manukau, Prologue begins around the country back road south of Auckland to find a seating for the official start tomorrow. Australian Tony Quinn is fastest in what is quickly becoming the car of choice for serious Targa competitors in modern category, the Nissan GT-R 35. His time of 4 minutes and 40 seconds is the fastest by just 2 seconds from Hayden Paddon. Barry Kirk-Burnand is the quickest Metalman Classic at 4:57, 10 seconds clear of Speedway champion Brent Emerson in the V8 VK Calais, who had a few moments.
We had a few sideways moments, but that's what Speedway's about too, so I was okay. But yeah, just got to be careful. Prologue doesn't mean anything, it's just a settle-in, so you stack it in that, you've got a lot of work to do before the tomorrow, so it's just about settling in, yeah, like you say.
While finishing Prologue is important, so too is finishing the whole event, something Bob Boniface has always struggled with in an older model Bitzer Ford Sierra. But this year, he's traded the hybrid for a Subaru Impreza in the hope of better reliability.
Having an easy year, we expect to be there at the finish. It's a fair bit slower but on the straight bits, but we still expect to be there, so that'll be good.
Out the front of the field this year are a couple of quick prestige cars, carrying a series of VIPs from regional councils to showcase Dunlop Targa. Today, in the capable hands of Targa regular Neil Tolich, is Judith Collins, Police Minister and local MP for Papakura, an avid Targa supporter sampling a first taste of tarmac racing on the streets she's charged with keeping in line.
We're just the enforcement arm, but I've got to say, Targa's the right place for people to be out rallying and speeding around the roads. Do it legally.
Day one of Dunlop Targa and the official start at the Telstra Centre in Manukau City. While today has 7 public road stages that will wind through the top half of the North Island to Taupo, the features today are the racetracks. Starting with Pukekohe and finishing at Taupo's A1 GP circuit. Along the way, Hampton Downs for the first race event ever to be held at the new state-of-the-art facility. Clark Proctor missed Prologue yesterday, but for good reasons. He was at an official function for the new racetrack.
Yeah, well today we're going to be fortunate to be running on arguably probably the best racetrack in the Southern Hemisphere, if not in some parts of the world. It's the first for Targa, it's the first for the track. The facility's fantastic. The track's going to be quite challenging for these competitors. There's a lot of blind crests and very late apex corners, so I think it'll be a real challenge.
Targa in itself is a real challenge and regularly brings out some of the big names of old.
So I've got to say, when I started, we were running around grass paddocks and there were some beach races we were at for the year, and then, Ruperni came along, but I raced at Waimate on the street circuit there, and Dunedin and places like that. It's where we cut our teeth, really. But no, there weren't even rallies when I started, and then rallies came along and we got the idea that some events might go for 4 or 5 days, but this one's really special.
And it's never too late to do your first Targa.
we've wanted to do the Targa for a long time, and the opportunity just hasn't been around because we've been away overseas doing something, but this weekend's available, here we are. We're under no illusion it'll be a very hard event on both the car and also the old boy here is going to have to be pretty fit to last all the way as well.
Dunlop Targa kicks off north of the Bombay Hills at Ramarama, and it's a Targa special, a 17-kilometre stage, narrow and bumpy. By instruction 10, a warning to expect plenty of spectators. I wonder why. Deliberate or not, the crowd doesn't mind. They've found the best corner for special stage 1, and they're well pleased with the result. Eddie Gruden doesn't usually push his old 911 to the limit, but it's amazing what an audience will do to you. And the Giddy brothers are in fine form, and we won't speculate on which of you is driving, but you've taken an early lead in the entertainment stakes and some of the safety bunting. So, a little heart starter for some to begin the week's competition before Targa heads to the first of our 3 racetracks for the day. Tony Quinn is fastest through in modern ahead of Stace Hopper in the extremely hot Subaru, while Kim McLeod and Ben Quinn are the early but short-lived leaders in Metalman Classic. Theirs will be a Targa to forget this year. Pukekohe race circuit has been modified to allow every team 4 laps of New Zealand's most famous racetrack, and pretty soon it's living up to its reputation. Diverting in off the main straight and through the pits, drivers must negotiate their way through the back of the control tower, but some have difficulty with the concept. Even Brent Emerson gets caught. Or is that a late call from Cheryl Hanwright? We dare not ask. Eventually, he gets the V8 Calais restarted and rejoins the circuit, but not before eating up valuable time. But it's Alan Lewis's Datsun 240Z which is the quickest classic at Pookie, his supercharged V8 elevating him to 3rd outright in class. Next stop, Hampton Downs at Merimeri. Out with the old and in with the new, despite Pookie being a perennial favourite.
Oh, Pukekohe's always great anyway. It's sort of reminiscent of some of the Pukekohe Car Club sprints that we do here, ducking out of pit lane and round the back of Jennigan Homes. But as you said, out with the old and here comes the new at Hampton Downs. So let's see what happens this next stage.
The motorsport dream of a racetrack at Hampton Downs has finally come to fruition. It's a brand new 3-kilometre circuit of tight curves and fast straights to test New Zealand's most experienced, even if they don't believe it themselves.
I haven't driven on many tracks, but by Christ, that is unbelievable. It's so smooth, so fast. They have done a fantastic job of that. The exits, the roll into the hairpin, that is the duck's nuts. I can't wait to get the NZ V8 here.
For a new track, it's got a lot of stick in it. Awesome sweep around here. You just leave it in 3rd and leave it tapped, and coming up over the hills, quite sort of you're sort of driving into the unknown. But it's good. You can keep it pinned. Obviously, these chicanes here are a bit in the way, but I can see lots of potential here. It's going to be grouse.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Yeah, I love the curves. You know, ups and downs and highs and hollows. It's superb. And being brand new, you haven't got a clue where it's going to go, you know, so it's nice to have to actually think about each corner and develop a line.
It's actually, you're very, very busy on it. There's not a lot of time for rest, and all the corners are very late apex corners, which are going to create huge passing opportunities. So it should be, without doubt, the best track in the country by far.
A year or so ago, after an excursion into an embankment, Jenny Mertens would have been happy not to get back into the co-driver's seat. But she's definitely back, and not frightened to get back behind the wheel either. Although there's no doubting her faith in driver husband, Richard.
No, he's a really good driver. No, seriously, no, he's good. Pity we missed that turn at Pukekohe. I'm not sure whose fault that was.
Do you want to talk about that?
I had told him before the race, so...
I told you that one, mate.
Back out on the roads, and we've become accustomed to it in Targa Special Stages 4, 5 and 6. Clark Proctor is wasting little time swallowing up his opposition. His rebuilt Nissan Escort is going harder and faster than ever, and he has the modern leader Quinn in his sights. Meantime, Mr. Non-finisher Lee Hopper has started his Targa campaign strongly, second quickest through Special Stage 4, ahead of Quinn. His son Stace in the WRC spec Subaru is gobbling up the competition, fourth through this stage and third outright despite the traffic. Our Targa rookie, Hayden Padden, lifts his game by Special Stage 5, passing the slower RX2 of Matt Schmidt and Shane Walden on the way to securing the quickest stage time. The NZ Rally champion is fast honing his skills on tarmac. He repeats the win through Special Stage 6 to elevate him above Clark Proctor and into second outright in Modern. Ewan Burke's also in Modern, but is pottering along further back in the field in his 2007 T-Car TG Sports 39th outright. He's not causing the front runners any issues. His Targa story, like many others, will be one of minding his own business and getting on with the job of completing this marathon rally for yet another year. By late afternoon, the final racetrack of the day, Taupo. 2 special stages around the A1GP circuit. Impending rain signals a chance for the Metal Man to test his latest innovation. This car might be an English Ford Escort with electric windows and a Japanese turbo V6. But the latest mod to his crowd-pleasing hybrid is a Mercedes wiper motor. So Proctor is officially the most multicultural entry in Targa, and about to test the newest component on the car. With the relaxing of the regulations, tyres will play a bigger part in 2009, no longer restricted to just 6 for the week. 8 are now allowed, meaning greater flexibility by teams in choosing compounds.
Case in point, Clark here behind us, he's going to run the medium tyres out there now just to get them scrubbed in and ready if it's going to be wet again tomorrow. They'll just warm up a little bit quicker, and if the weather's colder, the tyres will come in and grip better than a harder tyre.
So with more flexibility comes more strategy. Those who have gone for a set of softer intermediates will be banking on rain, and this is what they want. The wet road surface will not tear away at the tyre so radically and provide better grip than the harder tyre, which will prove very slippery in the rain. But some have a different agenda, and traction is not where it's at. Traction is something required every other day of the year, but Targa is a chance to let it all hang out, legally, and they're doing so. Our rally expert might be coming to terms with tarmac, but he's also coming to terms with his competition. Out in the forests, gravel rally drivers rarely race each other like this, and Padden gets an up-close and personal lesson in driver courtesy with Bob Boniface. Oops, sorry about that, Bob. And very next lap, same corner, with no Bob to bump, he slips off the seal and narrowly misses the kitty litter. The circuit stages are not kind to Padden, and he slips to 7th in Modern. It's an exciting end to a spectacular first day of Dunlop Targa. Somewhere at the base of this lake are the ski mountains of the Tongariro National Park. But today, for our visitors from Australia, they'll only be images in their minds. David and Angela Hooper from Albany, way south of Perth, Western Australia, considered bringing their tarmac rally car to New Zealand, but changed their minds.
We crunched some numbers and it worked out that it was going to basically cost us about $5,000 to send a car over, plus the time involved. So we went on to your famous Trade Me site and we found this car and we were just taken by it, really. Dad has previously run Datsun's Z cars and he said, look, that car will be mechanically sound, you know, it'll get you through the long week of Targa.
Masao Taki's grasp on the English language might be limited, but there's one thing he is certain of.
I like rain.
Why?
Very sleepy.
For our modern rookie, Hayden Patton, his first full day of Targa on tarmac is behind him, and although only in 7th, it's early days.
The main difference I found is obviously the amount of pressure we're putting on the brakes, but also just how slow things happen. You know, on the gravel you're always busy on the steering wheel, whereas on the tarmac you sort of got to wait for the corners to come for you. So, you know, it's just a matter of just smoothing my driving style up a bit, and that's what this week's all about, is just, getting used to the tarmac.
And while Patton is using Targa to gain tarmac experience for his career at the top level of international rallying, others are here with less serious intention. Conscious of the high cost of racing and the perception this might have on some parts of the community, Mike Hindmarsh and Debbie Bevans took a different approach to their Targa in light of the devastation in the Pacific region recently. They've paid their own entry and vehicle running costs, but each of their main sponsors has donated to Oxfam to aid those who suffered from the tsunami. Mike's noble gesture is balanced with his lifelong preoccupation with the dark side. But we figured everyone's allowed some weaknesses.
Well, I've been a Star Wars fan for a while now, since a kid, and I bought this car and I thought the car looks like Darth Vader's helmet if you stretch the imagination just a little bit. And so I got this guy up over on the shore to Steve Levine to paint the bonnet and bought the customised plates, and there you have it. Been training all year. We did the Bambina and the Rotorua, and all leading up to the 6-dayer.
A unique aspect of Dunlop Targa is the presence of the camera car. As well as being used to find interesting vantage points not otherwise accessible, the camera car is also fitted with a couple of cameras to allow driver Alan Fretwell and his co-driver cameraman Lee Henderson to chase down Targa's fastest. The hot Subaru Legacy is hotter this year with a rebuilt engine and bigger turbo. Every year modern cars keep getting faster, so Alan too has to keep up. This is not a task taken lightly, but a task much sought after by competitors. Countless requests for the camera car to follow a car to check out the handling, or maybe the lines being used through corners.
You've got this moving block in front of you, and you've got to actually kind of read how the driver is anticipating the corners, and then you've got to try to anticipate what they're going to do. So at times it can get pretty hairy, but we give it a good go. If we get into tight stuff, we can keep with them for a while. Yeah, we give it as best I can.
Sometimes, though, there is an element of surprise that catches the unwary.
We unfortunately took off from the stage and it was all downhill and it was quite gravelly, so he was right there, right behind us. Pretty scary when these big headlights are shining at you all the time, but yeah, it was good.
For Alan Fretwell, taking part in Dunlop Targa is a natural extension of competing and brings with it another level of skill, maintaining close contact with the car in front while still reading the road ahead.
Because you have a tendency to follow their lines, and if they've got the wrong lines, sometimes you can actually get yourself into problems as well, which is one of the reasons that you've got to be ready to take evasive actions.
Paul Manuel and Clark Proctor aren't the only NZVA drivers who have been attracted to Dunlop Targa. Champion Andy Booth has been lured to Targa by longtime competitor Paul Halford and his Maserati. It's the perfect union. Andy gets to drive the Maserati in earnest the way it should be, and Paul gets the benefit of some on-the-job tuition.
The car itself is, I don't think it could be any better. It's just beautifully balanced. It's got a lot of power. With the paddle change gearbox in it, you drive it like a go-kart, left foot braking, and you just got so much control. It's just having an absolute ball.
This guy is quite the driver, and just watching, being next to him, seeing what the car can do under his control, it's a special sort of thing to be able to do, actually. So there was no question. He became available, sort of, and I thought that would be a great opportunity.
The difference between driving a classic or modern car is more than cosmetic. And despite many classic cars benefiting from newer technology for brakes and suspension, the creature comforts of cars like the Maserati and GTR extend to air conditioning, stereos and other mod cons. But there is a downside, and Tony Quinn's afternoon is not so comfortable.
You just can't drive it with the ABS. You can slide around corners and stuff, but the ABS is just so critical. It just locks up the front and goes straight ahead. We think it's a wheel speed sensor, and or a wheel bearing or something. I haven't done anything wrong, but I haven't. Well, I maybe run a few people off the road in my life, but I mean, that's not wrong, is it? They're just in the way. But No, I don't think so. I mean, we'll all have our fair share of bloody troubles, I'm sure, throughout the week. Hopefully, if we fix this tonight, that'll be it. But I'm enjoying it, but it's just too much hard work.
Jason Gill's experiment with his sister co-driving a Targa Rotorua earlier in the year has paid off. Her interest in things motorsport has seen her mum enrolled into the child mining business and herself permanently implanted into the co-driver's seat of her big brother's rally car. There are obviously no family disputes here, the siblings regularly featuring in the top 3 times throughout the day, rewarding them with 4th overall in modern and watching the back of Paul Manuel. There are a few motorsports like tarmac racing where so many variations in model can be so competitive with each other. Quinn's late model Nissan supercar being chased hard by Clark Proctor's hybrid Nissan powered Escort, complete with its state-of-the-art suspension and brakes straight from a V8 supercar. Next is Paul Manuel in his supercharged 6-litre V8 Commodore, with all the grace of a lumbering giant but the roar of a lion, ready to pounce at any moment. He's being chased by the midget in comparison, Gill's Japanese answer to the Aussie brawn, the turbo 4-wheel drive. And let's not forget Paul Halford's Maserati in the capable hands of Andy Booth this year. 6 cars, all extraordinarily different in every respect, but all vying for the same thing, to be the fastest modern car on the road. Special stages 15 and 16 through to Moko, down the remote west coast, take their toll. The hard-charging Brent Emerson, 5th overnight in Meadowland Classic, after his navigational bungle at Pukekohe, has climbed back up to 3rd by lunchtime, but pays dearly for pushing through the afternoon stages.
Just there's a lot of metal on the corner. Some guys have been cutting in there and sprayed a bit on it. And we came in, just hugged it tight, and bounced out of it. Just skidded across the stones that were there, and so I got right off the brakes and then tried getting it on the throttle. And there's a lot of gravel on the side here, and tried to get into that, but it just kept drifting off. And we clipped a tree, which popped the back windscreen. And Cheryl went to get out to get the OK sign out in the triangle. And the boot had come that far forward and jammed against the door, so she couldn't couldn't get the door open. So we both had to get out that side. I managed to get the boot out of the way and got all the signs up to say, we're all good.
So the pressure's off the Meadowland Classic leaders, Tony and Joe Butler, slightly. Emerson was always going to make life difficult for the Holden Cheetah, but now it's just the brothers Burnand they need to worry about. Barry Kirk-Burnand has competed in all 15 Targas, originally in a Mark II Cortina with his brother Chris as co-driver. They eventually went their separate ways and now compete against each other in almost identical 3 Series BMWs. But the family affair with Targa extends past the siblings. Barry now has his son Carl co-driving for him, while Chris has seen the light and moved over to allow his own son Mark into the driver's seat in a bid to reel in his brother's domination of Classic.
I split up during the event, so we're only in day 2. And so I think he's dreaming. He's dreaming.
Both BMs are applying pressure to the Butlers by the end of day 2. But it's Barry who just manages to finally displace him from the top spot. But the Kirk-Burnands aren't the only father and son duos applying pressure in the top 5. Nigel Patterson and Warren Glassford have long dominated their class, but without his regular partner this year, Nigel's son Andrew, at just 15, becomes the youngest competitor in Dunlop Targa.
Oh, no, he doesn't know when to tell me to slow down, does he? You get to go faster. He doesn't know what's dangerously fast and what's not.
With advance warning, Hayden Patton puts on a great display of car control for the snappers on special stage 14, and that on a corner he's never seen before. And further on, at the end of the run to Moko, his Evo 9 punctures. Unlike most of the Targa field, who would likely stop and change the wheel, he and co-driver Greg Paul press on to protect their 5th position.
Well, I thought we had about 5k to go, and I thought being that we haven't practiced for this event, it probably would have taken us more than 2 or 3 minutes, so... But in hindsight, maybe it wasn't such a wise idea.
It felt pretty good to start with. It looked like it was going to do the distance, but then it got gradually worse and worse and started flapping, and well, it was catch-22, either carry on, which I thought we wouldn't have too many issues doing, but then it just disintegrated. So, but yeah, we decided we'd try and make it through to the finish, lose too much time otherwise.
The kids and their mums from Moorcoast School on the coast beckon. The local constabulary enrolled to ensure the Targa largesse is exploited to its maximum and the coffers of another local community are raised. It's an important aspect of Dunlop Targa, a small price to pay for the community for allowing this special form of motorsport to take place. By the end of day 2 of the Targa, Quinn has hung on to his lead in Modern over the V8 brigade of Proctor and Manuel. Jason Gill consolidates 4th. The horsepower up front will be difficult to overcome, but there's the Porsche Peter Milliner in 5th you'll have to keep an eye on. Tony and Joe Butler's reign at the top of Metalman Classic has been stopped by a BMW onslaught. Both Kirkbanans squeeze into the top 2 places. Thanks to Brent Emerson's off, the Kiwi Kid car will be feeling a little uncomfortable with Rex Alder and Nigel Patterson making it 4 German Stormtroopers in the fastest 5 in Classic at the end of day 2 of the Dunlop Targa for 2009. At the midway point of Dunlop Targa, the competition is wide open in Metalman Classic and Modern. The surprise this morning is to see the track drive Commodore ready to go. Brent Emerson might have lost a few panels and parts, not to mention a handful of positions in the results, but he's lost none of his enthusiasm to compete. The battered and bruised Commodore lines up for the start. And the big news this morning is not just the competition, but the VIP drivers. Shane van Gisbergen has flown in direct from the Indy 300 on the Gold Coast to join his father Robert in a new Ford FPV F6 for the rest of the week. This will be his first taste of Targa, something a little different for the Stone Brothers V8 supercar driver.
Yeah, it's an early morning start and we're ready to go, but no, I think we've got 30 or 40 Ks of touring and then we're into the first stage, so looking forward to it.
Now, do you trust your old man to navigate?
Oh, no, we struggled first. Everyone's going left out of the car park and the first thing he says, oh no, we're meant to go right, it says on the logbook, and he's looking at halfway through the day. So
Shane and his dad will join another Targa regular, PJ. Peter Johnson is hosting the local mayor, Peter Tennant, around the region today. This will be a new experience for New Plymouth's main man and something he's pretty excited about.
Well, it's always fantastic to welcome Targa back into New Plymouth and into Taranaki, but yeah, no, it's a biggie. Every boyhood dream. I'm co-pilot. What am I? I'm navigator in this fantastic Lexus behind. They tell me Peter's done it a million times. He's the expert. Even if I tell him to go left, he'll go right if that's the right track. So looking forward to it this morning.
Now, what about your famed yumps that are out there in that second stage this morning? You're looking forward to that?
The famed yumps. They tell me I've got to hold on, keep the seatbelt on, and this guy's pretty good. So he's also given me a rundown of all the safety features of the Lexus, so I'm confident. And in fact, there's a Russell sitting straight behind me, making sure he picks up the bits that we drop off from the front. So that'll be a good morning. Looking forward to it. Another typical Taranaki day, so it'll be an absolute beauty.
The VIP cars head out onto the special stages before the official VTNZ0 cars leave. At Kaimata, the local school is late on breakfast for those up too early to catch their own fare. And all this before the first stage of the day. We're not sure whether the Stone Brothers racing dietitian approved Van Gisbergen's breakfast this morning, so we won't mention it. But certainly, having the up-and-coming Kiwi driver back in New Zealand for Targa is generating plenty of local interest. The real racing for the day begins at Torata and runs for 31 kilometres through smooth, open farmland before tightening in through the hills. Kim McLeod and Ben Quinn should have been mixing it up the front in Classic, and but for a broken diff yesterday, would have been. But they're back with a spare diff installed and instantly on the pace. Second quickest to Barry Kirkbanan. And much the same for Stace Hopper. He too has the speed to lead, but an electronics issue with the superfast Subaru yesterday dropped him to 30th. But second quickest in the first stage today has already elevated him to 20th in Modern. Hayden Padden is the leader through Torata though, his smooth style through the corners easily soaking up the road to lead the field. Meantime, our VIPs are cruising through the yumps in Special Stage 18. Road-going cars like these must take the jumps more carefully. Without the purpose-built structure to absorb the impact of hard landings, the VIPs drive accordingly. PJ's been taking special care of his charge. Let's face it, in this part of the world, Peter Tennant is almost royalty.
You right there, mate? Oh, beautiful. Okay. Yeah, cool. Okay. Caution jumps all the way here. Yeah, this is quite a hard jump as well. Good. caution jump sump tickler coming up. 3 points. That's the sump tickler. More jumps.
Could we potential?
Oh yeah, that'd be fantastic. They get a few airbornes, I think, haven't they?
Yep, Peter, you're right, but we're impressed. As exciting as this is, you've still got time to wave to your constituents. VIPs through, and the VTNZ Zero cars clear the road for the competition. Now for the real action. As the Mayor predicted, air is the name of the game this morning, and it's not long before the sump tickler is doing its job. David Langford-Smith and co-driver Alan Hind have been hovering mid-pack in Metalman Classic, driving a rather nondescript 3 Series BMW. They've almost gone unnoticed till the yumps. Unbelievably, both are unharmed, and but for some panel damage, a new engine sump, several metres of fencing, and clean undies for our cameraman, all's well that ends well.
You alright, guys? Yeah, we're fine.
But take a look at that again from another angle, and that's just the first jump. Lunch today is at Whangamomana. There's only one road to the self-exiled republic, and it's a special stage in and out. Within each of modern and classic are several categories to provide competitions within the competition. After all, it's hardly fair to have a 1964 Fiat Abarth racing against an old Valiant. So while the Dobb brothers' 1989 Commodore is still considered modern, they haven't got a hope in hell of beating Tony Quinn's GTR. But in their category, based on car and engine size, and taking into account weight and driveline, they're holding down second to Richard Skilton in a similar vintage but completely different Subaru Liberty. Still sounds a little unbalanced, but the smaller car is beating the bigger one, so maybe it's not so far off the mark. After all, our camera car's a legacy and it's keeping up with the V8. Likewise, Alex Grant's little Peugeot 206 GTI is hardly a match for Paul Halford's Maserati supercar. But the nature of the countryside means even Grant's smaller car has the chance of staying in touch with the heavier Trofeo through the winding sections. This stage has 3 hills or saddles. At nearly 40 kilometres in length, it's hard work for driver and car. The valleys between the saddles are long, flat and open, but the drops off the edge are huge. Go off, the roadbook says, and it may be hours before you're rescued. Most deal with the long stage to lunch well, but some missed the instruction about being rescued. Kim Blatchley and Brendan Pratt from Tauranga are lucky. Of all the places to go off, this was the soft option.
Well, basically the tyres have just got too warm and overheated and just gone off. So when we've come into the corner, we've just gone into understeer, and we've sort of changed down a gear to try and pull out of it as it's gone on the grass, but it's just gone along the grass and slipped down. So if we can get it out and get going, we should be all right. But shame really, because I think we were up to 17th overall or something like that. And on this stage, it's my fault most probably because I was trying to catch the car in front, which we were, the GT3 Porsche. But anyway, never mind, get it out and fight another day.
But it's not just tyres causing problems today. Seems the local wildlife has been doing its bit as well. Alan Lewis paying dearly for this encounter.
Come up to the corner, halfway around the corner, and there was a stag standing in the centre of the road, and so it was all try and stop the car, and spun it around backwards and missed the stag and hit the fence.
Now, Alan, we wouldn't want to cast aspersions on the legitimacy of this excuse, but we're staggered. This is the best excuse we've heard for a crash on Targa, and it gets our vote. When our West Australian visitors, David and Angela, arrived in New Zealand for Targa, their visa was automatically issued. Such is the relationship between the two countries. But no one warned them about the Republic of Whangamomana. Located on the only direct route between New Plymouth and Tamaranui, in the heart of the King Country, this little community has made an art form out of creative tourism. Everyone gets behind the day on Targa, and the temporary passport office does a roaring trade drumming up business and cash for the local coffers. Trevor Crow has built and driven his cars forever, and it seems even during the event.
When you build your own car, there's always something that, you know, you maybe should have sharpened up when you first built it, made it a bit stronger, but it's just punched one of the strut towers out through the top. And even the Works Rally cars do that, so I don't feel too bad about it. Last time it was gearboxes galore, so we fixed that problem. There's always something else. You just can't do this anywhere else. It beats circuit racing, except maybe Bathurst. Shingle, yeah, it's pretty cool too, but this is just unbelievable. Day after day, you just start to get in the groove and the car seems to flow, and it's amazing.
Barry Kirkburnand is still battling with his nephew Mark, who beat him into lunch today by a mere 2 seconds over the 40k stage. Maybe Uncle Barry needs to hand over the reins to his co-driver, son Callum.
I've had pressure on me, and there's a chance this might be the last year for me. I don't know. Time will tell, but I've got 2 sons, and I've told both of them that when they start paying the bills, they can drive.
Brent Emerson's problems from yesterday are not over. An overheating engine means he's coasting, surfing into lunch. But no lack of humour from our Speedway demon and his co-pilot Cheryl Handwright. The Targa Tour, designed for the less serious races, usually runs through the same stages an hour before the main event. This is a great chance for novice drivers, or those just keen to preserve their cars, to take part in New Zealand's biggest motoring roadshow. Graham Verco from Nelson is one of 30 entrants in the Targa Tour, and he and son Stephen are back again, and in a very special car, a replica AC Cobra.
I bought it as a bit of a Sunday driver, you know, just kicking around the back roads in Nelson, obviously keeping to the speed limit. But this gives us a bit of a chance to get out and really sort of stretch the legs with limitations. Obviously, being in the Targa Tour, your top speeds are regulated, but you get out amongst some like-minded people who just want to, you know, have a bit of fun, and within the controlled environment of the closed stages, go a little bit faster and test your car and yourself out. Very, very good social tour as well, or social element to the tour, and that's really what brought me to it and has brought me back to it. This is my second full Targa, and I did the Targa Rotorua this year as well.
With just the one road in and out of lunch, the Targa Tour leaves Whangamomana just after the last competition car arrives. Special Stage 20, simply the reverse of Special Stage 19. Ironically, one of our most experienced rally drivers in the field is also a Targa rookie. But Hayden Patton is demonstrating he's more than qualified, and certainly gaining valuable experience on tarmac. He's 9 seconds quicker than the GTR of Tony Quinn and Naomi Tillett. And Lee Hopper doesn't have the horsepower of his son Stace, but he's consistently putting in fast times, keeping him inside the top 10. This stage, he's third quickest in modern. The Kirkburnands have the mortgage on Classic, with Barry decisively quicker than his nephew on the way out. Both distance themselves from the Butlers and the Pattersons. Wellington's Ron Scanlon makes for a good story. Diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma several years ago, Ron made some serious decisions in his life, and amongst other things, gathered together a bucket list of things he wanted to accomplish. Top of the list for the accomplished rally driver was to compete in Dunlop Targa. So, with co-driver Victor Ewan alongside, they entered this year and have turned in some great times, including a quickest time at Pukekohe. All that in an older model Lancer Evo 3. But he's got a secret weapon, and that's a switch in the car to give him an instant boost from the engine. After all, according to his co-driver, he hasn't been scared yet.
Came around the corner and locked up the brakes, and the first thing I remember was in the stage notes there's a steep drop, and I just remembered that note as we locked up the brakes and the fence came up, and it was all over. I went into the brake position, closed my eyes, and off we went, and I'm just so glad that we didn't roll, and so surprised that we didn't roll, and surprisingly there's not a huge amount of damage to the car cosmetically, but I tell you what, finally managed to scare me a little bit. Let's just say that's not the way I wanted to be scared though. It was pretty crazy.
The rest of the afternoon is spent driving south to Wanganui, with a couple of stages thrown in for good measure. Special Stage 21 brings out the best again in Overshoot Eddie, and his co-driver Roy Crane repeating their antics from day one. There's conjecture about whose fault the overshoot is, but Eddie, Roy isn't handling the gear stick. But don't worry, there's plenty more to choose from. Stuart McChesney also has trouble in his classic Anglia, flying in at a speed that would make even Harry Potter proud. Brent Emerson grabs back some pride, third quickest through this special stage at Eltham, and also wins the final stage of the day. But Dion Arnold, who's not having a good Targa either, is just as quick through 21, dead heating with Emerson in the much smaller Corolla FX GT. Stace Hopper is desperate to climb his way back into the competition, and his handbrake turn to correct the same error is perfect. But the rest, well, we'll let others be the judge of that. Thank goodness for the media. That's all we can say. But he bounces back very next stage to record 6th fastest time in modern. Paul Manuel is also on the comeback trail after sliding off the road and out of the top 5 very first stage this morning. Climbing his way back throughout the day, he finishes in 9th, still with plenty of growl in the belly of the supercharged VE Commodore. If it's the 4th day, then it must be time for some wet weather. Dunlop Targa wouldn't be Targa without a little moisture, and unless you're Rob and Ann Corbett in an open-top TR3, that shouldn't be a problem. As for Rob, he thinks he has the answer.
Well, just go faster. Go faster and keep focusing on what's ahead.
So why no canopy?
Well, we've got a roof for it, but there are no side screens anyway. So unless you're parked and it's coming directly down, and we're trying not to be parked, we're trying to be moving.
Nick Weavers is hoping for a better start to the day than the way his day ended yesterday.
We had a slight off on the last stage last night, 2Ks from the end. Unfortunately, got a back wheel in the gravel and went round and hit a fence. But we've managed to put it together last night with the help of a lot of people and lots of tin and all sorts of tape and various other bits have gone into putting it back together, and the boys worked really hard, and I'm really thrilled to be back on it.
By the time the Corbetts leave for the first special stage of the day, the rain has eased slightly. But they're under no illusion about seeing the sun today, everything but. High in the hills, a new stage for Targa, last used by the Motor Guard Rally in 1978. Fields Track ventures close to the army capital of New Zealand, Wairau, in a part of the country known for snow. But today, there's just plenty of rain. No wonder the countryside looks so green, and the sheep so happy. Rex Alder and Ron Bartles have been keeping the Kirk Bonanza honest and classic all week. And Rex thought he had the answer to an advantage in the wet earlier this morning. Correct tyre pressures.
That's the catch-22 in the wet, is you've got to have a go and get the tyres hot, because if you don't, you'll slip and slide all the time.
It's done the trick. The regulars from Auckland beat one of the Burnans and Tony Butler to be second through the wet first stage. And Nicholas Cooper is on the money as well, handling the big heavy Valiant Charger well enough to hang on just outside the 5. About now, the Corbetts will be wishing they'd brought the family wagon. If the rain in 23 wasn't bad enough, Special Stage 24 has, you guessed it, snow. Thank goodness you brought the brolly, Ann. It's making all the difference. Good luck. The big surprise in Special Stage 24 is Tony Butler, who's quickest through the Wairau stage and snatches back the classic lead in the process. In a surprise move, Paul Manuel pushes the supercharged VE Commodore through the rain in quick smart time, 4th, behind the cars of Quinn, Proctor and Padden. Despite his off yesterday, he's already back up to 9th, and closing in on the times of Lee Hopper to just 30 seconds. 7th outright, Brian Green is the big loser in 24.
I think the driver ran out of talent really. We just arrived at a right-handed corner a little bit faster than we should have done. The brake bias wasn't quite right and we shot through a fence sideways at about 100 mile an hour. And then there was a little bank and I thought, gee, if we hit that, we'll be upside down. And luckily we threw over the bank backwards and then we flew out to the paddock. So I said to Scott, I said, I'm very sorry. I said, that's the end of this rally as we're flying through the air. Anyway, we stopped and there was mud and everywhere. So anyway, we got back in the, got the car fired up. We drove back out through the hole in the fence that we caused and I stalled it getting out on the road to turn around to get going the right way. And that probably lost more time doing that than we did in the rest of it. But we're very, very lucky. We bent one steering arm, so it was only mechanical damage, and we've obviously broken a window and done some damage to the door.
And Brent Early's chances of a top 10 finish fly apart with his gearbox very next stage.
So we were just sort of starting to get back in the groove after the wet, slippery couple of stages this morning and getting the eye back in, and bang, third gear goes. So we think it's absolutely munched. So we cruised back light throttle in fourth gear, and here we are. So might be out for a stage or two, but we'll get back in and get going.
The afternoon stages are dominated by more moisture. Rain, snow and sleet this morning. This afternoon, hail. The roads slippery and treacherous, even catching the very best. A lucky escape for our classic leader. At least he's only bogged. Road conditions make driving uncontrollable. Masao Taki might like the wet, but this catches him completely unaware. Disaster for the Japanese pair, who were thankfully unharmed and philosophical about New Zealand's changeable weather.
What the weather is here?
So,
the snow here, everything.
everything in one day.
And bitter disappointment for Barry Kirkbernand, who's an innocent bystander.
Hailing so hard, I had no idea it was so thick on the road, I guess, and before I knew it was slippery, it was all over. We're out of control, we're a passenger. Unfortunately, he got in the slide and clipped us and broken our front suspension off, so we'll be back tomorrow, we've got some spare bits.
So Target and the weather moves on without the classic leader. Next stage is the infamous Cop Corner. So named after the local constabulary, not directly involved with the event, decided to pre-run the stage. Nowadays, this is a mandatory stop for the Targa Tour competitors who are always keen to spy some racing action. Given our V8 supercar driver is out in front of the competition using up plenty of Dunlop's finest, we did warn him of this corner so he didn't make a spectacle of himself. But we shouldn't have bothered. Our VTNZ Zero car hero, Dennis Green, knows this road better than anyone. He pre-drives the whole course and has done so every year this stage has been used, but even he gets caught. But the biggest bang goes to the biggest bloke in the smallest car. Mike Lowe has competed in every Targa in this car and rarely has trouble. Now there's a cry for help from the only Fiat Abarth still racing in the world. On its side and in need of urgently being moved out of the way of the next competitor. Hayden Padden is also too hot into Cop Corner, but avoids the same armco with a handful of gravel experience put to good use. Amidst all the drama in Special Stage 29, a surprise classic winner for the stage is Michael Moros in the Toyota FX GT. Manfield Racetrack is the final stop of the day before the Targa crews retire to Palmerston North for the night, but not before a grudge match between Proctor and Quinn.
Oh, I think it was the fastest car in the world racing the second fastest car in the world, wasn't it?
You saying Tony's car is slower than yours?
Yeah.
It's arguable.
It was the best stage of the whole event so far for me. It was very enjoyable. He's a good, clean racer, and I had a bit of a problem in one corner. He took me again, and it was a good, clean, bloody battle. It was good fun.
A couple of days ago you said that he needed to step up. My understanding from what Clark said is that that's fine, but he's going to swap cars so he can step up.
I don't mind doing whatever, but he's got a GDR at home, so I think next year, I think we'll see him in a GDR. So.
Yeah, you did right, Tony. Well, it's time to move up. Tried to hang on and be the crowd favourite for many, many years now, and the intention is to get through and finish this event, and then we will probably look at moving up to something more modern, and it will be a GDR. So.
How will you cope with things like air conditioning and climate control?
It's tough, mate.
I think it would be. I mean, deciding what music to put on between.
Well, Billy Joel's
good.
Billy Joel, what should we listen to?
I might probably go for Van Halen or something like that.
That'd be too rough for me.
It's time for a tub in the centre of Palmerston North this afternoon, and also a chance to spill the beans on a few myths.
I'll just point out that at 40, the car normally goes on 2 wheels. That's what it does, and we normally put on a bit of a show for everybody, and we can hold it at 45 degrees. We now know we can't hold it at 46 degrees. And it went up, Phil and I both thought, well, there's one way we could do. We could either steer right and get it flat, but then we hit the barrier, or we just go for a ride. And we've just put a few little gravel ratchets. It'll polish out. So tomorrow morning, it'll be good as new.
Lowe and Sutton have been a photographer's dream today. Vivid images captured by ground skies Philip Adamson from front on.
But have a look at the shot and look at their heads. It's a good thing the car didn't go any further, or they'd have twisted their heads off. I couldn't believe it was actually happening. It happened so slowly, didn't it?
With 2 days to go, Quinn has a serious lead over Proctor and Modern, with Hayden Paddon staying in contention. Only 25 seconds separates he and Jason Gill, but it's another 4 minutes back to fifth. With Uncle Barry licking his wounds in fifth, Mark Kirkban's seesaw with Tony Butler finds him on top at the end of the day in Metalman Classic, with 3 more BMWs fighting over the spoils. The penultimate day of Dunlop Targa brings a new leader in Classic.
It's not what we wanted. I mean, we wanted Barry to slow down, but not quite like that. So we'll just keep charging ahead and do it for the family name sort of thing. So.
And the battle lines are drawn elsewhere in Classic.
Dr. Nick's just in front of us, so I think it's about 20 seconds we've got to make up on him. So that's our objective for this morning anyway. So.
Now, BMWs around here seem pretty common, but this little BMW is different because it's a Mini Cooper. And even more different is its engine.
It's ordinary in the body, but the motor's an MR2 turbo motor, 1990 odd vintage. It's got an MR2 gearbox, which has got a cut-getter set of gears in it, just to make the ratios a bit better than a standard one.
What kind of horsepower are we talking?
Somewhere 280 and 300, I think, at the flywheel.
Amongst a field of 60 modern competitors, 13th outright isn't too shabby. Up in the Tararua and Ruahine ranges, there's still moisture in the air this morning. It's cold and the road is slippery as cars skirt the top of Windmill Alley and on towards Woodville. Brent Early bounces back after his gearbox issues with a decisive win in Modern, 14 seconds quicker than anyone else, while Tony Butler flies the flag in Classic. Mark Kirkbanand and Father Chris show the way through Ormondville, the longest stage of the event at 44 kilometres, finishing at Norsewood. Stuart McChesney's service crew, including wife Christina, is waiting patiently.
The better half's supporting him from the ground level. I don't like speed, so I just do it from this end. It's far more exciting.
Like all crews, this is the nervous time, waiting to make sure their car and drivers arrive without incident. In this case, McChesney is struggling with fueling problems in the Little Anglia, and he drops several positions coming into service.
Oh, we're just having a few issues in there. Engine was dying on it. We had a fuel starvation and it just died out. So we lost about a minute in there, but we finished the stage, but really got to get stuck in and get this thing going properly. It's very annoying. It did it at Manfield yesterday too, so we did a couple of little dramas, but nothing major. We will get to the bottom of it.
Driving at the slower end of the field should provide the benefit of staying on the road and completing every stage. After all, that is the object for most, especially if you can't win Dunlop Targa. There are likely less incidents at this pace, but when they do happen, there's a sense of real-time slow motion. Dennis and Kevin Mills' Targa is in the ditch about here through special stage 34, Umuturoa, and they're forced to wait for a tow. Lunch today is at the Tui Brewery in Mangatanoka. Yeah, right. A motoring event at a brewery? Well, yeah, right, it is. And we've got the girls to prove it. Ah, Mike and Phil. Even I've heard about your antics yesterday. How lucky are you? And how lucky is Tony Butler, who moved back up to second in Classic after Kurt Bonan's accident yesterday. But the strategy to stay in front of Nigel Patterson is high on his mind.
Oh, there's a huge amount of strategy that goes into it from all sorts of things. Even today, we've been. The other problem with the Cheetah is that we only do 1 litre of fuel per kilometre in a race stage, and I've only got a 60-litre tank, and so I've been having to jump forward in the queues, get a little bit ahead, and then dive off and duck around to a service station, fill it up with gas again, and then back into the rally. So we've already done that 3 times this morning. So it's a real problem with the amount of fuel it uses. It's a good thing we painted it blue because it's not a very green car. Yeah.
Dunlop Targa is all about family involvement, and none more so than the Van Gisbergens. Here to see what Targa is all about, but we sense some trepidation from the older Giz.
Yeah, no, he's good. Yeah, no, he's yeah. I've got to be careful what to say here.
Hey, okay, so Shane, he reckons you're good. What do you reckon he's like as a passenger?
Oh, he's a useless co-driver. He wouldn't be very good at all. But no, it's good fun. We're having fun. We don't get to spend too much time together, so it's good between the stages. We're having good talks and stuff. But yeah, during the stages we always find we're missing a few notes and getting cautions late and stuff. He's not very good like that. But it's good fun. We're just we're not racing at all. We're just cruising around. But we're enjoying ourselves. And that's Ford have given us such a great car. It's the first time I've driven the FPV F6. It's unreal. It's an awesome machine.
Fed and fueled, it's back out on the road. Brent Emerson has been chasing down the doctor in the Silver Valiant and has claimed his scalp. The doc has no antidote for the Speedway demon.
I know exactly what will happen if I do that. I'll be in the bushes. I've got cracked rotors, tyres going down, throwing a bit of oil out. We've got another day to go after this, so you can only push it so far. Yeah.
Famous last words. The Silver Valiant Fastback is sighted for the last time before disappearing, not into the bushes as he warned, but through a fence and garage. Over and out of Targa for 2009. At Special Stage 35, just down the road from the brewery, is an iScoot Speed Restriction Zone, or HIS. Those evil necessities designed to limit speeds unable to be contained by the natural terrain of the road itself. From the start, cars must not exit the half kilometre in less than 40 seconds, getting up to race pace. Hayden Padden leaves the finish of the HIS speed zone, but finish is exactly what he does.
Just a very long corner here, and I was just in the wrong part of the road, and it just kept on tightening, and I thought I counted for the tightening part of it, but then right on the end of it, it just kept going. So just got caught out really, and unfortunately the tree sort of stopped us on our path. So that's that.
Dunlop Targa is high in rewards and disappointments, and she's bitten down hard on the Kiwi Rally champion today. In the dying stages of the day, Ross Johnson and Mike Patching disappear off the radar. Martin Dippy is the first on the scene, but Richard Mertens is close behind. Maybe too close. Although their Porsche is in the bushes, Johnson and Patching are okay. So too are Dippy and his co-driver, who stopped to help and got scattered across the road by the incoming Merc of Mertens. Martinborough Car Wash signals the end of another day in Dunlop Targa, and a chance to check under the bonnet of Alan Lewis's sweet-sounding Datsun 240Z.
It's got a LS1 Chev 5.7 litre motor with a supercharger. Dry sump, putting out over 500 horsepower.
The V8's a popular choice with the crowd, but this one is very special.
Well, the whine that comes out of it is the supercharger screaming because it's doing twice the revs of the motor. And because the air induction's out the front of the car, that's why you can hear it.
Wellington is where Targa finishes tomorrow, but we're in a day early in preparation for the last stages of competition for 2009 around the capital. From Martinborough, it's over the Rimataka Ranges and down into the Hutt Valley. The finish is near. Day 6 of Dunlop Targa is a special day, and not because it's the last. It's also Halloween, and some are getting right into the spirit.
Trick or treat!
For poor Manuel, getting this close to the finish is especially rewarding, despite his early setback.
Yeah, it's a pity we parked it on the third day. We lost a lot of time there, but I slept like a baby last night, that's for sure. And to me, every corner now is a bonus. This is the furthest we've ever got. We got to the last day, and I'm absolutely stoked with it. Yeah, it's a grueling event. It is a tough event.
And the car in his sights is Martin Dippy's Porsche.
Yeah, no pressure though. Only an 800 horsepower V8.
Got a bit of a handling advantage though, you think?
Yeah, different cars. This is light and nimble. It should suit the Wellington Hills, hopefully.
Our Scotsman from Australia, a man of few words, well, serious ones at least, has a clear lead in modern and a clear idea about Dunlop Targa.
It's a great event. It's the best event that we do. But don't tell the Kiwis that, because they'll jam it up our arse in Australia.
In Classic, Brent Emerson is out chasing BMWs and a potential podium position.
We're going to be going hard, but still keep it together. Yeah, I'm hunting down Nigel Patterson. He's in third place. We'd like to get to there if we could, but anything could happen today. Hopefully we stay on, and those guys do too, but it's a big challenge on, so we've got our way up to fourth. I think we've done pretty good to get to there, so just keep it on the road today.
Lee Hopper's presence in the top 10 all week has been no fluke. Since joining Targa for the first time a couple of years back, he's consolidated his experience. And for that matter, his collection of wrecked Subarus to prove his consolidation. The last day of Targa and the chance to not only finish, but finish in style in the final 5 in modern. Hopper does finish in style, but unfortunately, not in the final 5. But there is a positive.
Oh, lucky the tide's out, eh?
I reckon it could have been pretty bad.
You got to look at the positive side of this. The tide could have been in. The car would be a mess.
Yeah.
Running anti-clockwise around the base of Shelley Bay this morning, the final stage of the day will run in reverse. First up this morning with the fastest time is Paul Manuel and Richard Scola, and boy, aren't they happy about it. Brent Emerson and Cheryl Hanwright aren't quick enough to beat off Tony Butler and the Cheetah, but the track drive Commodore is impressive for something that looks like it should be in a demolition derby. Clark Proctor drops time to be 12th by Upper Hutt, a road problem in the electrics that's been giving the team grief for the last 2 days.
The thing seemed fine this morning, but then on the second stage it dropped its guts again, conked out in stage, just coasted over the line, fortunately, and we've managed to get through these last 2 okay, but it's going to be a struggle to get to the line today.
Proctor holds on to second in modern. It's a 3-minute gap back to Jason Gill, so he has a reasonable buffer for now. By moonshine, Proctor is again leading the way, 13 seconds ahead of Brent Early, whose best performances have been coming in the back half of this event. On Pyecock Hill, Emerson pulls out the stops in the Commodore.
I know the road quite well, and I've always loved that road, and yeah, I gave it 10 tenths through there, maybe 10 and a half. But yeah, we haven't seen the times yet, but felt pretty comfortable and good through there, yeah.
But that pesky little BMW in the hands of Mark Kirkband is quicker by 7 seconds. But Targa is starting to take its toll on the youngster.
I'm not trying to hide it, we're fighting sort of thing, and we just got to keep going. I'm tired, it's been 5 days, and didn't sleep very well last night, and where it's just the pressure, and as soon as it gets tough, you get tired and you just got to work harder, and that's what we're doing, so we're fighting.
With Hopper dropping out, Martin Dippy makes no apology for taking 4th.
Don't matter how we get there, it's all about consistency in my book.
Into 4th, is there a chance of you being able to get to 3rd?
No, I don't think so. No, there's too much time there. So we're driving hard, but we're trying to get to the finish line. 6-day event, and it's
5.5 days into it, so we're just going to keep it clean for the afternoon.
After lunch, Greg Queen's Halloween theme does the trick, treating Paul Chisholm to a lesson in how to pass on tight winding roads. He and Craig Connor will finish their week in a handy 8th place outright in Classic and first in their category. And just when you thought Dunlop Targa had no more tricks on offer, Franz de Court and Peter Ross thought you might enjoy this. We're not sure why it happened, but then neither is Franz de Court, we suspect. The return run through Paikakariki is remarkably unchanged at the top of both Classic and Modern, but for Paul Manuel, who has gear selector problems that threaten to stop his march to the finish. From Johnsonville over the back and into Wellington, Stace Hopper is charging hard. He's just taken 6th from Paul Manuel. With a slender 10-second buffer, he can't afford to leave the back door open for the supercharged V8. The final stage, the reverse run around Shelley Bay, a great way to finish a great week.
About the same time as we did in the other direction, mate. Well done. Woohoo! Excellent, mate.
Just good marks there. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Sensational.
Good week, eh?
Absolutely.
Back at Taranaki Street Wharf, the last of our VIPs for the week is the first to cross the official finish line. Mayor Kerry Prendergast.
I'm a huge supporter of motor racing. I think the Targa Rally is great and it had no trouble going through my council. It is such a small time out of the year to have a road closed for 2 or 3 hours. That's the way we look at it. Great economic return for the city, great for motorsport enthusiasts, great for Wellingtonians to have all these people in town. And so it's an easy decision for us to make. As I say, it's only 2 or 3 hours for the road closures, so Wellington City is very supportive.
And subject to the tyre bill from Dunlop being paid, Shane van Gisbergen will be back again for sure.
On you. It was worth it because we had fun and I'm sure everyone else did, and we got to build something proper and do it for real. So we're looking forward to that.
Everyone gets a medal for finishing this punishing week-long road race, but there can only be one winner. Well, 2 actually. Tony Quinn and Naomi Tillett in the Nissan GTR, leading all week, and deserved winners in Modern. And Mark and Chris Kirkburnand, whose consistency rewards them with the Classic win. Okay, there's more than 2 winners. There's heaps of category winners, and you can find them on the website. So Mark Kirkburnand beats Butler in the end, with Brett Emerson splitting the other BMWs of Patterson and Alder. Tony Quinn's GTR was always the car to beat in Modern, and Clark Proctor will need to rethink his strategy for 2010. Jason Gill takes the 3rd podium from Martin Dippy, with Brent Hurley snatching 5th for the week. Final word to a man who has dreamt about competing in the ultimate road race for more than a decade, and despite the toughest challenges life could throw at him, beat them.
It's been a mix of nightmares, dramas. It's been fantastic. Yeah, it is. It's been an absolute dream.